try. Yeah. You good? Yeah. Yeah, so some of you I know, I saw like 8 months ago, I think it was, when we were starting up again, the Bhakti Lounge. So I'm super happy to be back once again. Actually, I used to live very close, or 1 hour approximately, but now I moved to Amsterdam, so it's a little bit harder for me to come. So I'm very happy today I could be here because tomorrow is free also. So we thought it's nice to, besides the chanting, also give a little bit of inspiration, you know, some enrichment of what does it mean to chant, and yeah, some deepening in our spiritual practice. So we chose a theme today, which is not yet there on the screen. It's okay, but it's not so necessary. But yeah, we chose the theme, perception shapes reality. So we'll speak a little bit about that. This day and age, this is quite a theme because everyone has their perception of life. So we wanted to speak a little bit of that and then connect it to mantra singing in the end, so that we have the last kirtan we can sing full of inspiration. Sounds okay? Yeah? Okay. So I thought it's nice maybe to start with a little story of one of my favorite detectives, Sherlock Holmes. You all know? Like the series with Benedict Cumberbatch and all that? Yeah. So there's one very nice story that Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, his companion, they're camping somewhere out in the open. And right in the middle of the night, Sherlock Holmes, he pushes John Watson, he says like, wake up, wake up. And Watson like, oh, what's happening? So he looks to the side and Sherlock Holmes is wide awake. So we asked him, Sherlock Holmes asked his friend, what do you see? When you look up to the sky, what do you see? And John Watson is like, oh no, he's a smart ass, you know, so I have to come with some good answer now. So he looks up and he says, ooh, I see all these different constellations and places where science has not yet been, you know, so it comes with like a big answer. And Sherlock Holmes says, okay, yes, but what else do you see? So he thinks, okay, I have to go deeper. He says, when I look up to the sky, I see all these worlds that are yet to be explored. You know, maybe there's life, maybe not. He comes with some philosophical thing. And Sherlock Holmes thinks, okay, he stays quiet. So John Watson, he turns around, he says, what do you see? And Sherlock Holmes, he looks up, he says, I see that someone has stolen our tent. So that's why they could see, you know, all the stars. And they think, oh no, something so obvious, but we completely missed it, right? And this is what's happening in our life sometimes. Some things are like staring us right in the face, but we cannot see it. Everyone has their unique perspective on life, and sometimes you can try as hard as you want, as hard as you can, but you cannot see what someone else sees in the same vision, in the same thing. So a question to you, what determines our perception on life? What determines our perspective? You can just say some words.
Childhood.
Childhood? Yeah.
Emotions.
Emotions?
Desires.
Yeah. Fears, yeah. These are actually already quite deep answers. Yeah, some more? What determines your perception on life, your vision?
Culture.
Culture.
The books we read, music we hear, movies we watch.
You're prepared. Okay, good, yeah.
The glasses we wear.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
The very tent on my nose.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, very good answers, actually. But I'm looking for something even deeper. Something like that's common, general in all of them. Maybe I tell one more little story, then we get the answer. This is actually one of Keshava Swami. This is Swami, like a nice teacher. He came to Holland last week, and some of you were there. I don't know if you heard this story that he told. Swami?
Yeah, Swami?
Yeah, Keshava Swami, yeah. And so he was telling this story that there were two men walking down Wall Street. Anyone ever been to Wall Street before?
Yes.
Who has been to New York and on Wall Street? Okay. So you know a little bit how it's there, you know, all the people in business suits, during the lunch break, high buildings, everyone's like, what? So there are two business people walking down the street. And one says, stop, stop, stop. I hear a cricket. Like very tiny. I cannot make the sound, but making a cricket sound, right? So the other person, businessman, looks at him and says, what? You know, here's so many cars, so many people, noises, sirens, and you hear this tiny cricket? He says, yeah. He says, no, I cannot believe it. He says, no, come with me, I can hear it. So they follow some route and they come to like the tiny 1 millimeter, square millimeter where they're still green, something in New York. And there's this like very tiny little cricket making sound in this big city. And this man is like, whoa, oh my God, you must have like crazy ears that you can hear this super tiny sound. And this man says, no, it's not about my ears, it's something different. And I'll show you what it is. So he takes in his pocket, he takes few coins, few dollars, you know. He throws them up in the air, they land on the floor, you hear like ting, 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 also very tiny sounds, but everyone turns their heads, you know, everyone in a circle of 50 meters. Why?
Focus.
Huh?
Focus?
Yeah, they're focused, they're conscious, they're so tuned on money. You know, so they're not busy with nature, they're not busy with these tiny crickets in this green thing, plants. No, they're focused on money all the time. So then tiny sound of money, they're immediately there. So Keshava Swami said, what determines our perception is where our consciousness is invested in. What we invest our focus, our consciousness in, that is what information we're going to perceive in the world. Now the second question to you is...
Broken.
I'm doing something with these slides. Anyway, I can also talk. The second question to you is, what determines where we're investing our consciousness in, our attention in? What determines that?
Our values.
Values, beliefs, yeah? Yeah, deeper?
Or will.
Yeah, our choices, that's a big one, yeah. They say our choices and our past programming. So the programs that we make for ourselves in our minds. It's a little bit like AI nowadays, you know, when you have Instagram and you go, you know, scrolling and you find a post that you like about Trump or I don't know if you like Trump. Maybe not. The Olympic Games or like someone famous, Billie Eilish, I don't know, something. Something that's happening in the world, and you look at it for a few seconds, then this AI, it traces, aha, she likes this post. Then next time when she's gonna scroll, I'm gonna show her two of these posts, two of these topics. And then you stop again with both of those, and it thinks, aha, she must really like this. So next time you get 5 or 10 of these posts. And that's how it's like capturing your attention. So maybe right now you're not really choosing, okay, I really want to see that Trump thing or that karate thing or whatever. But because you made choices in the past, now you're sort of taking the fruits of that. And the same is happening with our mind. You could compare it also with something else. Like I went with my family to the Swiss Alps, and we were there, and it was January, so there was snow. Fresh snow. So I went with my family, my mom, dad, my sister and her child, and we were making a nice hike in the fresh snow. We were the first ones, you know, so it was like completely white. And we had to make a path. So my dad went in front, his feet in the snow, completely, you know, I think up to here or something. It was quite deep. And he was making the path, and I was right behind him, and I was stepping with my feet in his feet. And then my mom was stepping in my feet, so we were slowly creating a path that became deeper and deeper. And I think I can guarantee that the persons that came after us, they would also follow our path, because it's the easiest way to go, right? So it is said that our mind works the same way. So we choose a certain path, we make a certain choice within our mind, how we respond to something, how we react, what kind of thoughts we have. And then next time, that path is a little easier to go through. So we take it again. And that path is like slowly from a lost little jungle path becoming like a highway, big highway, and it's very easy to cross there. So we're sort of programming ourselves, we're deepening certain patterns within our mind. And in one way it can be good, because we can protect ourselves from, you said, fears or things that, you know, are difficult in life. But they can also really limit us. They can really, keep us in a little box. Even though we want something else, the past programming can become like a prison. We become a prisoner of our past. Maybe not a prisoner, maybe a product of the past, but not yet a prisoner, because we still have our free will. There's a nice story of my friend that shows like how these patterns can sort of keep us limited. I have her permission, by the way, to share this. She's a friend of mine. And she always had troubles with her body, or her self-perception about how she looked. And that showed in that sometimes she would gain a lot of weight, and then after a few months she would become again very tiny. So like her whole life she was, you know, not in balance with her weight. So she did some processing and going back to the past, trying to figure out where does this come from. And she found sort of 3 moments that defined that. So one was that she was a child of a baker, and her mother would always give her like nice donuts to school, cupcakes, croissant with like nice glaze on top of it. So every day she would come in school, and at lunch she would take that and something nice inside, you know. But all these children around her, they were a little jealous. And they were like, you know, they also wanted that. So they asked her, like, shouldn't you give us also a little bit? You'll get way too fat. You know, if every day you eat something like this, you should give us something. So that was the first sort of strike. Okay, if I eat too much of this, I get fat, I need to give it to others. Next time, her mom made her a carnival's outfit. You're all German, right? So you celebrate carnival in a good way. They say always in Holland, like the Germans, they really know how to celebrate. Yes. So her mom made her like a little clown's, how to say, outfit. And back in the days that you would have like a hula hoop, like that, remember? And then shoot, fabric like that. So she came in school and she felt so happy because look, I have my new clown outfit, my mom made it for me, so much love in there. But some of the kids in school were like, oh, see, she's again so fat, because there was like this hula hoop. So again, she got sort of a second stripe, a deepening of the path inside of her head. And then later on, she was in the phase that she would always ask her parents, why? The grass is green, why? Why are the birds flying? Why am I here? Like always asking why. Every kid goes through that phase. So then she was asking a lot of questions, and she was also asking her grandma at some point, after already asking a lot of questions, she asked her, can I please have a cookie? I'm hungry. And that was like the drip that made the bucket overflow, and her grandma was like, I want a cookie again, or I have enough of your questions and all your needs and blah. And she freaked out. So all these experiences together made her connection with food, with her body, with how she looked at herself, sort of made that snow path deeper and deeper within herself, that she made a conclusion like, I'm not good enough, my body is not good, I have to change. And she sort of lived with that the rest of her days until she started seeing the pattern and tried to change it. So that's how sort of the past programming can really limit us for many, many years to come. So what do we want? We want to break out of it. So how do we do that? Any ideas? How to break out of these patterns that shape our perception? Huh?
Spiritual growth.
Spiritual growth? Yeah. In what way?
For example, clearing our anarthas, which conditions our heart.
Yeah, anarthas are like
greed, arrogance, and so forth.
Yeah. So things that surface to sort of cleanse them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other things?
Yeah, we can listen to something which is inspiring, to have new inputs in our consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. There are 4 steps, they say, but before we can go there, there's a little something they say. We have to sort of broaden our vision that goes beyond the mind, because the mind is like stuck within these patterns. So we have to see ourselves in a way that we are outside of these patterns, that we are not the patterns, we are the one experiencing those patterns. So they say like our eyes, they watch the world, but our mind watches the eyes. But who's the one watching the mind?
Yeah, it's meditation. I mean,
yeah, but who's the one watching the mind?
watcher of the watcher.
The watcher of the watcher,
Yeah.
who is, they say in Vedic scriptures, they say it's the soul. It's like the deepest essence of who you are, the witness, the observer. So maybe we can do a little experiment, and then we almost end. If you close your eyes and you take your hands like this, we're going to see if we can see where that witness is. So close your eyes, don't cheat. Yeah. Put your hands a little bit closer. So I'm going to clap, and immediately if you hear a clap, then you have to also clap. You also do, yeah. So as fast as you can, you respond, okay? Close your eyes. Quite good. Okay, let's try again. Wow, oh God, good. Everyone's super sharp today. Last one. Wow, great, okay. You can open your eyes. What did you notice in the moment that you were waiting for the clap? What happened inside? Tension? Oh, okay, that was not me. But okay, yeah. What else? Listening, yeah. There's sort of, hopefully, like a presence. It's not that you have a lot of thoughts or that a lot of things are happening, you're just aware, right? That is sort of the watcher. It's something that even though you don't have thoughts in that moment, you are still there. So that person, that one that's watching, that they say is the pure consciousness, which comes from the deepest essence of who you are, the soul. And so spiritual knowledge, they tell us, like, try to connect with that one, because that broadens your vision, that shows you that you're something beyond all those patterns. And Keshava Swami said something nice as a last thing. He said, yeah, you know, if you have a glass of water and you put a handful of salt in it and then you drink it, it's going to taste like, you know that. But if you take a big lake and then you put the same amount of salt in the lake and then you take a glass, you don't taste it at all, right? You don't taste the saltiness because the amount of water is much larger. So they say when your consciousness is just captured within your mind, that's like the glass, the salt in the glass. But when your consciousness is there within the soul, then it's like you're in the lake. And maybe the amount of salt is the same. We could say that salt is like the pain that we experience in the world, the difficulties that we get. But the experience of that salt, that is completely different. Because now you have broadened your consciousness. So how do we get to that point that we can do that? They tell us 4 ways. What you already said, what is taken?
Like hearing new things, for example.
Yeah, like
new information.
hearing from like people who are teachers in this kind of science and knowledge. Yeah, and maybe listening to some books or classes or audiobooks or reading the books. Yeah, we can do that. We can also, the second thing is we can hang around with people who are also interested in this, and they will help us, you know, to stay on that track, to keep that perception. And then we can also do something we call seva. You heard of seva? Most of you have. Yeah, seva, it translates in selfless service. So you're doing something selflessly, because then you're putting yourself out of the center. It's not you and your mind and your experience and your happiness and your desires. No, you're doing something selflessly, so not for you, without getting anything back. So in that sense, you sort of take a step away from your mind. And the final thing is what they call sadhana. And the sadhana is a spiritual practice that you do every day, so that you remember yourself, wait, I'm something beyond all of that programming inside, you know. And one of those sadhanas, one of those practices is the chanting, which you're doing now. And this chanting is sort of cleansing our mind simultaneously. So it's helping us to connect with the deeper essence of who we are, the witness, as well as that it is cleansing those, or you can say anarthas, or programs within our minds. So let's do that, no? Yeah? Yes, you can take a sip of water if you like, or what do you want? If you want to share something also that connects to this, or...
Are there questions? Any questions?
Not questions, but if you have something to share, feel free.
I mean, I find it really nice how you explain it in that, also through your experience, and it really helped me to understand the point you made.
Yeah.
It's really
Thank you. Yeah.